Hey guys, welcome back. This video is going to be a lot different. This is a video that I wasn't sure I wanted to make. I've been thinking about it for a while, and one of the main reasons I wasn't sure if I wanted to make it is because it's not really the theme of what I'm going for here. Um, it is still somewhat relevant, and I think it's going to resonate with some of my watchers. Um, First, let me explain. Well, first, let me just say this. Wizards of the Coast, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? I don't understand. Um, I have been a Magic player and a gamer most of my life. Um, I started gaming. I started gaming when I was 13, and it came out of a love from dark fantasy. Dungeons and Dragons really was the first big thing for me, and I guess even some video games, the Legend of Zelda games and things like that. I always loved dark fantasy and high fantasy movies. Um, One of the main things of this channel is art and artistic freedom and all of those things. And some dark fantasy movies. Legend is one of my favorite movies of all time. Of course, that included Tim Curry and Tom Cruise. Uh, High fantasy, Conan the Barbarian, the original, not the remake. Um, Labyrinth, even though that was more, um, it wasn't really high fantasy, but it was still fantasy. In my opinion, it was definitely still within the realm of dark fantasy. And so I was 15 when I discovered Magic the Gathering. And as a 15-year-old who had just spent his entire winter shoveling sidewalks to try to save up for my next Dungeons and Dragons expansion, I I was dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons. D&D was where it was at for me, and because it had everything I liked. It had goblins, it had ghouls, vampires, zombies. I don't know if I said dragons already. Dragons, whatever. It had all of the elements that I really enjoyed. Creepy stuff, and you could kind of immerse yourself in it. Well, I spent all this winter of '94, going into '95, shoveling sidewalks and stuff. Back in those days, maybe you'd get $7, $8 if you shoveled a sidewalk. But I did it. I saved up the money, and I went up to my local comic book store, and it was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's still there. And I walked in, and the guy knew me, and I was going in for a comic book, a very specific one, the Jim Lee Spider-Man. I believe it was drawn by Jim Lee, or maybe it was the one that Todd McFarlane drew. I can't remember. Either way, and the second expansion for the Dungeons and Dragons that I needed. And back then, they came in a big box set. It wasn't just a little compendium. This was a box set that had everything you needed to play. So they grabbed the box down for me, and I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm talking about comics and stuff. And I see these cards on the countertop. And I ask, well, what are these? Because they looked very similar to what Dungeons and Dragons would have. And I believe one of the cards that I had seen was Goblin Surgeon or something along those lines. It was Fallen Empires was the set. And I believe there was a Hymn to Turak, and there was another card up. I think it was from Chronicles. It was Helm of Chatsik or something along those lines. It was another set that was out in 1995. It was a white border set. I remember that. But I remember seeing Helm of Chatsik. I fell in love with the artwork on those cards. And again, this channel being more about artwork, um, just for a little bit more, I was a Magic judge for several years. I was a Magic the Gathering altarist. Basically, I would alter cards. And if you're unfamiliar with an altered Magic the Gathering card is, You can see them here. So now, all of that, I see Wizards going in this direction, and I know that there's going to be people on all sides of the fence here with this one. They are single-handedly, in my opinion, ruining this game. At least what this game was supposed to be. I know that Dungeons and Dragons has had its Spelljammer and Dark Sun and some of these different themes throughout the years. Fucking Spider-Man? Are you kidding me? Lord of the Rings, I get. Lord of the Rings is still high fantasy, at times dark fantasy. Now we're getting race cars and weird neon ninjas, and I had to dig these out. Remember this? Remember those? I could look through one of these, and I can tell you right now that there is no weird space age crap. There's no Spider-Man. There's oh look, there's Him to Torek right there. Look at that. That was probably the art that I remember seeing too. I don't know if you could see that. I had a bunch of these when I was a kid. These are not the ones that I had as a kid. It goes on and on and on. I look through these and I feel an extreme sense of nostalgia for what this game used to be. And I see it going down the drain with all of these extra sets. Arabian Nights, look at that. The comic book series. Cool. We're introducing, well, what is it? Now there's going to be a Star Trek set. I understand. People are going to like it, right? People like Star Trek. If they did a Star Wars set, people would like Star Wars. That has nothing to fucking do with Magic the Gathering. Nothing. I guess technically in the Marvel realm, yes, there are superheroes that fight vampires. I get that. But why? Why is it necessary in this particular game? What are you doing? Are you trying to alienate the people that want dark fantasy? Because that's all you're doing at this point. I understand the game is changing, and with change, you need to change things and to further better yourself. But this is atrocious, man. This is awful. And I don't even want to talk about the pricing. Like, I'm not even going to get into that. This is more from an art standpoint. I don't want to see Llanowar Elves, one of the most iconic cards, on the same battlefield as Gwen Stacy. What is that? Are you serious, Wizards? Really? It's really disappointing. There's so many good Magic artists out there, and I'm sure that they still just enjoy doing art in general, but they're probably not wanting to do an oversaturated thing like Spider-Man. I'm sure they probably enjoy it. I would enjoy it if someone was like, "Hey, try to paint me a Spider-Man." I think that would be really cool. But come on, we don't need that. This is not Magic the Gathering anymore. Soon enough, we're going to have a Pee Wee Herman set. We're going to have a Golden Girls set. I'm surprised we don't already. Like, what next? I mean, where does this stop? We got a set that we probably should have returned to 4 times over instead of going back to Ravnica 8 times and playing that out. We should have gone back to the Lorwyn block, or I think it's Lorwyn, right? The one that we're about to revisit. We should have gone back there way before we went back to Ravnica. Um, even the 40K set. But see, the 40K set wasn't a set, right? Wasn't a full booster box set. It was a very specific thing that they made cards um, for a specific set. Thematically, that makes sense. Um, there's My Little Pony cards, SpongeBob. I mean, the game is becoming a meme at this point. There's like Wizards of the Coast has continuously had this problem with some of its die-hard fans like myself. Um, I understand that there's a call. People want the reserve list unbanned, and that's never going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to be anytime soon, because Wizards has found a way to appeal to a greater audience. But with appealing to a greater audience and getting newer players, your older players are starting to fade away because we don't have faith in your company anymore. And that's not just me. I know there are people that are still buying it because I'm not going to get into the monetary part of it, but there are monetary things going on within the game that if you jump on something at the right time, you can double or quadruple your money. And I understand that aspect too, but that's not what I was coming at this for. I just don't. I know myself. I'm just so disappointed. I mean, I can't. I can't see. Hold on. I got some because unfortunately, I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to see. So I'm going to do this. I'll do this. Let's see. I got piles of Magic cards back here. Let me see if I can find a good one. There you go. That doesn't even matter. Spider-Man cards. Right? Spider-Man. Or Dark Fantasy. Yes, I play Legacy Dredge, and these are just some of the cards that sometimes slot in and out. It's a weird world that we live in right now when it comes to this kind of stuff. And again, Wizards has basically taken away, well, for some artists, I guess. Getting your cards altered used to be a really big thing. It still is, especially when you're getting your cards altered by the artist. But a lot of times, those are really expensive. And back before they started making 8 different versions of every card, you would have to go to someone who could paint to get a card altered, and that card would be altered by hand. Now they do the extended art, different full arts, all sorts of different variant versions and whatnot, and that's fine. People would still get cards altered, of course. Older cards still exist that they either will not reprint due to reserve list, or they're just not popular enough to reprint. So some people will still want alters of older cards, or just some of my friends will give me, like a task. Well, I want this on this card or whatever. I haven't done them in a while. I plan to for this channel on another video. I can't believe where it's going, and I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. I know that there's a lot of people excited about, what is it, Avatar? Avatar? Is it like the anime or the blue people? I think it's the anime. And then what else do we got coming up? There's like another Marvel set or another comic book set. Those comic book characters already have a game. They've had several. Why is it necessary to beat a dead horse with these things? Or more importantly, why are we making it standard legal? That I don't care, because I don't play standard. I haven't really played standard for a while. I entered like a qualifier, maybe 1 or 2 qualifiers, like last season or something, to help a local game store fill their numbers. Usually I don't play standard. If I'm playing anything, I'm playing Legacy. Old school, pre-modern. I do have a modern deck. I do have a couple EDH decks, but rarely do they see the light of day. They just kind of sit in their boxes and flounder about. Um, but there's another issue that we have. So we have Legacy, which is still getting things like certain cards banned. So they will pay attention to what cards are technically the problem in a format that they don't even care about. They don't care. They don't care about Legacy. They don't do anything to uphold the Legacy community. They don't care about it. Legacy is kind of a dying format, primarily because of reserve list cards. I mean, there are some ways that we could fix that, but I think most people would be a little upset about it. There are ways that you could kind of make lands more similar to dual lands with a greater drawback and still be effective in that format. But instead, we're focusing on Spider-Man. Doctor Who. Really? Doctor Who? Again, I think it wasn't an actual set, right? Like you couldn't open a booster box of Doctor Who, but there's enough commander decks. Um, the game that I have grown to love and I've been playing since I was 15 years old is slowly dying and going by the wayside. And I don't mean dying. It's probably healthy. I don't know. I know that Final Fantasy was a huge hit, but I've heard about it several times now. When people are trading in Power 9 to get certain cards from these other sets because their rarity is even greater than that of reserve list cards. I mean, like that's kind of scary too to think about. Um, I don't understand why we're going away from the fantasy element. Um, Fantasy is what Magic the Gathering should be and what it should always be. It takes a lot for me to contemplate making a video like this and talk directly to people about it. But Wizards is making mistakes, and they're making mistakes that are alienating people that got them to where they are today. That is the biggest problem. I understand that anyone that was playing in 1995, were probably ancient in comparison to what they want now. But, you know, if you want to be the Fortnite of card games, I mean, sure. Um, just it's not a good look, Wizards. Come on, seriously. Uh, go back to the roots. Is that hard, or does it just not sell enough to make it worth it? I just don't know anymore. It seems so. It's baffling. It's just baffling to me, and I don't know how to articulate it other than the fact, or other than just pure bewilderment. I don't understand what the appeal is for these. Like again, like there have been several games of Marvel, the Marvel universe. Why do we need it in a game with that was structured similarly to Dungeons and Dragons or even some other games that were dark fantasy? Why do we now have Patrick Starfish battling a Gwen Stacy? I know. The SpongeBob reprints, they were reprints with SpongeBob art. I get it, but still, you see what I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from when I say that my disdain for this is just so out there. Like I just wake the fuck up, Wizards. Come on. I really have been trying to like not curse on this channel, but I can't think of any other any other words to use. Like uh, I wish I had more answers, and unfortunately, I don't. And I don't work for Wizards. I just know that if this is this downward spiral that we're taking when it comes to future Magic sets, which I've already seen a few, and I'm just like, what is going on? It's not Magic the Gathering anymore. Don't call it Magic the Gathering. It's not about Magic anymore. Um, any of the universes that you decide to add on from here on out is going to lower this game Gonna have a Call of Duty set next. I mean, that game's awful too, but G.I. Joe, Thundercats. I'm sorry. Oh shit! I gotta stop. I'm giving you guys too many good ideas here. Slow the roll, okay? Anyways, I'm done ranting. For those of you who are enjoying this, I'm glad. I hope it's what you want for a game. But again, a game that was brought up by dark fantasy, ogres, dragons, demons, elves. A game that has withstood the test of time and is still one of the best tabletop, if not the best, longest tabletop card game out there. If you don't see the shift, I don't know what to tell you, but it ain't looking good from where I'm sitting. I no longer wish to play, and I've already said why. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. So, anyways, my next video is almost done. I've been contemplating this one for a while. My next video is almost done. It's actually just about ready. I had a little bit of audio fallout, so I have to redo some audio, and I have a little bit more editing to do. But for the most part, it's ready, and it's a painting tutorial. And as we start getting more into the colder months, there's going to be a lot more painting going on. Towards the end of summer, a lot of stuff happens, and you got to prepare for the colder months. And so, yeah. With that being said, I know that this is not what this channel was supposed to be about. So I apologize for anyone that's going to click on this thing and be like, dude, what the fuck? There's no painting on it again or something. Like, I didn't want to sit here and ramble in front of you, but I felt it necessary because this is, I don't even think I'm going to cut it because I think my frustration, if you share my frustration, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. This is about nerd culture. That's really what it's about. And, it's something I've been passionate about for a long time. Um, art, music, primarily heavy metal, black metal, thrash metal, anything adjacent to that, and horror movies, and then of course down at the tucked away is the gaming aspect, which usually comes full circle with that type of all of those things combined. Usually people who are into alternative lifestyles, into art, into darker music are usually into these type of things. I love comic books. Don't get me wrong. I have stacks of comic books. I just don't want them in my fantasy game. See you.